Continuing part 3, the story of the scroll, the path of evolution. The cure is there even before the disease. Haman is closely related to Bigton and Teres. They are Haman's protagonists. They are there in the principle of Haman. Haman is most displeased about this happening. Haman, in his turn, recognizes Mordecai, but Haman has not any notion what the significance is of Esther. Now that Bigton and Teres exist no longer, Haman can become great without any risks. Development, alienation from the source of origin, can now proceed without any risks for creation. The Shekinah comes along. The changes of the principle of duality causes alienation from the source of origin, and getting lost in endless multiplicity have been removed. The Shekinah coming along goes together with the hanging of Bigton and Teres. Now Haman is bound to become great. Development runs to extremes, so that reunion is the very highest that can be reached. It is then immeasurable. At that extreme, the event with Bigton and Teres will of its own accord accomplish the return. Ancient lore refers to this principle, which is then called, the cure is there even before the disease. Creation is designed so that the return is implied in creation itself. In the Hebrew word for create, this principle is implied. And here Esther is present already when Haman begins his rapid way of development. Here Bigton and Teres are already hanged. Here Mordecai sits at the king's gate. He cannot get away, nor is he allowed to, and as anti-force he leads Haman to the zenith of unfoldment. Everywhere there is the effect of the Nistar, of the Neshama, of the Avri, of the Shekinah. Everywhere that which is hidden from this world, the imperceptible, the seemingly defenseless. 3 and 4 and 5. And now Haman increases. Ahasuerus makes him great. For now indeed does development, which had at first been slumbering, rush to an explosive ascent. Everything is now submitted to development. Everything obeys. There is an astounding unity where servitude to Haman is concerned. It is now the 12th year of the reign of Ahasuerus. It is 5 years now since Esther became the queen. We set here a remarkable development in the expression of numbers as absolute concepts. To begin with, there is the announcement of the 3rd year, then of the 7th, and now of the 12th. So the periods cover 3, 4, and 5 years. The 3 presents Ahasuerus all by himself, in all his power, and Vashti done away with. The 4 presents the coming of Esther after many maidens have passed by. And now the 5, after the confrontation of Haman and Mordecai, offers the redemption no longer expected and no longer believed in. Here we find inserted in the structure of the Megillah the man-woman-child principle, as it is expressed in, respectively, the 3, 4, 5 in ancient lore. It is the secret of the proportions which similarly present itself in the right-angled triangle of the Pythagoras. We have here the 3 and 4 makes 7, and the 3 and 4 and 5 makes 12. Adding up the squares of the figures 3, 4, and 5 gives 50. The concept of fulfillment of what is called the coming world, the 8th day. Adding up the figures themselves, however, gives us the 12. The concept expressing what we see as measure of time. With the 13, time is eliminated. It is merged into an all-encompassing oneness. In the story of Esther, we shall see this 12 mixed up with the 13, then also coming into prominence. Mordecai irritates Haman. Haman's growth is enormous. He is the richest, the most powerful man. He subsistently executes what Ahasuerus is. The wealth of the world is the fruit of the development. All bow to the favors which Haman can shower on people. Embroidered on his apparel, according to ancient tradition, Haman wears the gods that made him great and whom therefore he serves and worships and adores. However, there is one who does not join this game. But then, how could Mordecai, as an Avri, as one coming from the other side, join any game? Mordecai with myrrh in his name. Mordecai, however, sits at the king's gate. All people pass through. Likewise does Haman, who goes in and out. The Ivri must sit there. The Ivri is close to the king. He is the only one in that gate, also a solitary one. He guards the hidden things hidden. He is the male aspect of Esther. The Ivri is most important. Therein the absolute. He must see who goes in and out to see the king. He must see what happens in this world. Mordecai becomes a great annoyance to Haman, for Mordecai makes Haman think all the time of the one-sidedness of that life of constant continuation and of the cheerlessness of such a life. With his presence, Mordecai makes all Haman's pomposity ridiculous to Haman himself. He shows him that everything Haman does is a useless, purposeless game. Mordecai simply does not join in, and everybody sees it. Haman's attention is drawn to the fact that Mordecai simply transgresses the rules of Ahasuerus. The world of Porosumodai demands that development shall be served. It is useful to that world, and therefore it is the purpose of that world. But Mordecai prefers transgressing the laws of this world, and he abstains from worshiping development. He refuses to bow down to the gods on Haman's apparel. Mordecai provokes him. He is asking for trouble. He cannot help doing so. He has to sit there at the gate, and nobody can help noticing his attitude. The argument is mere chance. Haman knows it is not only Mordecai. He is aware of the fact that something terribly uneasy, something incomprehensible lives in man and dispersed everywhere in the world also, different from that with which the world can calculate. No, it was not only Mordecai. Mordecai is a part of the annoyance which comes to expression in the king in his immediate presence. Naturally, it had to disappear in the first place, but again, it was not sufficient. This mockery, this contempt, is refusal to take part in things that was dispersed in man in the world. There was a certain type of man you felt instinctively that could not possibly be maintained in this world, if development was really to surpass bold expectations. That type of man behaved differently, thought differently, reacted differently. Such people snap their fingers at the whole world with its laws of growth, of development, of science. They simply ignored the laws of Ahasuerus, as if it were possible. Besides, in everybody there lurked the chance that such thoughts and course of conduct could arise. It could not and should not be. It might, without further warning, obstruct development. There should merely be people who considered half the world as the be-all, end-all. People who could or would cooperate without taking notice of that other half. Would not that be to the profit, the benefit of the world? And were the others not dangerous, full of harm? So Haman starts finding out how this impediment can be got out of the way. He examines it with the purr. Ancient tradition shows that it was not a kind of gambling or drawing lots. Haman chose to find a favorable moment for destroying these dissenters. To the contrary, Haman examines all times and possibilities. He excludes everything that, according to his logic, his know-how, is not feasible or unfavorable. Thus, arguing, logically excluding everything else, he finally arrives at fixing the time and conditions when these Jehudim, these irritating creatures who do not take the laws of development seriously, might be eradicated. To his mind, the situation of eradicating was implied in the concept 12, in the 12th month, the month named Adar, adding to which it was the 12th year of the reign of Ahasuerus. According to ancient tradition, the fact that the death of Moses, the compiler of the Torah, falls on the 7th day of the month of Adar supplied Haman with the motive, and Haman further argues that this irradiation could be carried out in the constellation of Pisces, which rules Adar. In the 12 is expressed the measure of time. Time measured with the 12 is the time of development. It is the time that implies transience, loss, forgetfulness. It is the time that makes man live for the passing moment and seems to offer him the chance of taking his fate into his own hands. It is what implies development. Development, too, forgets what has preceded. It can falsify. It can pass judgment, and development implies that man can make plans, that he can buy wheat or flour or bread. In such a world of pure development, of climax, zenith of development, anything deviating would go down. Nothing could subsist in that case. The king was sure to confirm this at the hand of his mondial laws. Was not he himself in his 12th year? In the 12th of months, even Moses had to disappear. Time puts an end to everything. The Jehudim, with their propensity for the word of the Torah, which made them so deviating and annoying, would see that even the Torah was a product of time, that the compiler of it, similarly, was a product of time and nothing else, for both would disappear in time. From this point of view, the downfall of the obstructors of development can surely be expected. Pisces, of which Adar is the expression at the boundary between this world and another, will, according to Haman, swallow the Jehudim. In that period, in those circumstances, they would not be able to subsist. In such periods and conditions, one could expect the laws of the world of Ahasuerus to be able to put an end to the presence of this type of deviation. The world would come to know it. At the appointed time and in the proper places, people would be informed about the laws of the king, and the world was then sure to fall upon these Jehudim. Nothing would remain of them. The world would be given laws of development, laws of science, social laws, political laws, and these laws would put an end to those deviations. In the sign of the 12 in the constellation of Pisces. Then what about chance contingency, as Haman has analyzed so profoundly scientifically? Essentially, that which Haman does in chance, accident, contingency. For Haman thinks he analyzes sharply and purely. But how can he do so when he only knows half of the world? Then he accidentally takes that and nothing else. Essentially, it is just chance, Laconically, ancient tradition unravels Haman's argumentation. In Adar, does Moses die? True. But you, foolish Haman, silly worshiper of development, don't you know that Moses was born on that same day? That is because you merely know one half. What disappears in time will come back in time. That is why the Torah is permanent all the same, owing to this Moses. Time hides a secret which one day you will be faced with. It is not quite such a one-sided matter, this disappearance in time. And with Pisces, it is exactly the same. According to Haman's half, Pisces would swallow the Jehudim, cause them to disappear. Viewed also from the other side, Pisces would swallow Haman. Haman chanced to see causes and effects, and is convinced him that things would happen that way and not any other way. Accidentally, he did not see the other way, for indeed everything was chance, accident, in this world of Ahasuerus. For indeed, who knew causes and effects? They are Nistar, are they not? They are indeed Nistar, so that man may act differently from analysis, so that man may act humanely, divinely, gratuitously.